I'm Terry McGill, and this is Who's Your Neighbor? This is a show that spontaneously came into existence about 3 or 4 months ago. Some of us were really concerned about the effect of COVID on interaction, on connection, on community. And so a friend of mine said, well, why don't you do something? And so I've started interviewing people in our community that we may never run onto, we may never hear about. I mean, this is not Oprah, this is not Deepak Chopra. These are folks that they might just live 3 blocks from you. And they might show up, like our guest tonight, at a metaphysical fair where I was about 3 weeks ago. And it was really interesting. I kept wanting to say hello to her. The whole 2 days, there was a line almost all the time, and she was doing her thing with 1 or 2 or 3 people at a time for the whole 2 days. She may have been hoarse when the weekend was over, but people really loved her. So I want to introduce you to Coralea Hart.
Hello.
Hi, Coralea. I get FaceTime with you now. I had no chance over the weekend.
I know. It's so good to chat with you right now, and what a lovely intro you gave me.
Well, just truth. Yes. And you have several things, hat tricks, but what you were doing at the show was tarot card, or is it tarot?
I don't really mind however you pronounce it. Okay. I say tarot.
I used to,
I guess, in between the two.
And I went, well,
if you watch a documentary, it'll be tarot, but.
Okay. So you were doing tarot card readings for people. What does that entail? They come up and they want to have a meeting with you, and they sit down, and then what happens?
So basically I start off by letting people know the kind of tarot work that I do. So I do present moment readings. So I don't do predictory readings because I feel like timelines change so fast, and there's a lot of work that our souls want us to do here in the present moment. And so that's, I feel like, enough. And that it's an all-inclusive, non-gender way of coming at the archetypes in the tarot, and that each of the cards have medicine, and that we can use them for us to progress on our journey and anchor into that medicine and the information that they have in order to just, take ourselves out of maybe like a loop that we put ourselves into, and like really change perspectives.
Right.
So that we can grow.
You said something just a moment ago that our viewers may not be familiar with. You do soul tarot readings, right?
Yeah.
Say a little bit more about that, will you? Because a lot of our viewers may not have a clue.
Yeah. So this woman, Lindsay Mack, she has a podcast called Tarot for the Wild Soul. And she just kind of channeled her own interpretations and way of doing tarot. And it was just, there's a lot of really awesome history that is with tarot. Rider-Waite-Smith is one of those core kind of like tarot decks that have a lot of imagery that a lot of other tarot workers or creators take from. And there's some just like outdated spaces in there that just, I think she felt needed to be mended. And so I just really felt called because I did tarot a long time before I came across her. And then I just started really listening to it and it resonated with me. And basically, when I do her course study work, it's like she kind of has the roots and I just kind of build my own tree.
So when you, I'm trying to get a grasp of it myself. Do you connect with the soul of the people that you do readings for, or is it your soul connection with the cards? How does that work?
Yeah, so I align myself with my own spirits, and I believe that the people who come to me with their, with their need to get a reading, like I'm connecting to their spirit. So it's about expanding our soul from a space where, um, like we kind of contracted to make certain things happen and we need that validation and a help through spirit, so it's like a soul work. So it's like working through your soul, allowing your soul to be spiralic, allowing yourself to be wild and not really tamed by what like society is showing us that like we should be, because I don't just like believe in like shoulds, coulds, we have to's. Yeah.
So rather than lockstep, it's dance, your
Yeah.
own dance.
It is, and it's amazing dance that is life, and basically kind of like also a roller coaster.
How is that?
Well, because we're all just on this ride, you know?
So the roller coaster ride is life.
Yeah. It's not linear.
It's
You
certainly
know,
not.
it's not like this happens and this happens and then this happens and it's like everybody's on this trajectory that's the same. Like everybody's kind of moving and shifting, and some people may have like an internal winter in the summer, or somebody may feel like really creative and a spring in their winter. You know, so it's like the way that we think about days or we think about seasons isn't naturally who as humans we feel inside. So it's a kind of honoring of that, I feel like is important because we
So,
have
so
ideas that it needs to be a certain way.
connection with oneself. And
Yes,
so
like your inner guidance.
you mentioned the cards, archetypes, non-gender. So um, could you say a bit more about that? What do the cards represent?
So I believe that, and was taught that the cards show up for us. And so say you are a cis male and you pull out the Empress, which traditionally a lot of interpretations are that you're, going to have a baby, or you could, have like some sort of child in your life. And that just doesn't fit, right? So instead of having it be about that, it's about the joy of receiving love as your birthright. And so it's just like a shift in that. And like I think that sometimes pages are, certain people, or nights are certain people in our lives. I don't ever interpret it, even when people kind of come to me during a reading and they might know a little bit about tarot and they say, oh, that's probably this person in my life, or that's this person. And I say, I really respect where you're coming from, but I want you to maybe open yourself up to a different perspective of that this is actually a part of you, or a pace that you are needing to move into, that's all wholly about you. And it may be affected or maybe even triggered by somebody that is in your life, but it is you, and owning that is really, I feel like, important.
So when someone sits down with you, they have an opportunity then to see or experience or learn about something that may have been in shadow or background or even not even developed yet.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, you never really know. I mean, when I'm doing events, it's interesting because I kind of let it be this like slidest scale opportunity for people to offer what they feel like they want to spend for a card reading, and then I match that energetically. So if somebody energetically or financially can only afford to do a $20 reading, then I'll pull a couple cards, and usually when you get like your first couple cards, they're a validation, or they'll be like, oh, I was just talking about that with my friends. That is exactly what I'm going through. And it's like, yes, that is what's showing up right now. But then when you go further, deeper into the polls and get more cards, then it kind of shows up on a bigger scale, on a wider variety of like, okay, so how do we work with this? And what else is coming up? And maybe like what kind of internal work do you need to work through to move through that energy and get to the space where you really want to be at? So that could be shadow aspects as well, because not everybody is coming into this world like really wanting or knowing, even just not any fault to themselves, that there is work to be done.
I had no clue about it when I was growing up. Not a clue. Uh, and, you mentioned the sliding scale. That's a really heartful way. Um, it's like there's no agenda here except to provide service. How much would you like? I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, because I can put my place in other people and what their perspective of that is, but I just really felt like to offer, a minimum, and then if you want to spend a lot of time with me working through stuff, then that's what you need to do. And if you're just doing this for entertainment value, then I could do a little poll and kind of show you and reflect back to you what it is that's like happening. So yeah, I really like that. And I noticed that a lot of people put up specific prices for specific times, and I don't time my readings. So if I feel like there needs to be one more card, then I'll just pull that card and I'll just say what it is, or like if I feel like there's a lot more talking that needs to happen, then I might do a little bit less cards, because really what's happening is I'm channeling and giving more, because a lot of people aren't always visual. So I'll get like a call to talk to them more about what's going on, or they might have a lot more to say to me about it and reflect back, because that's really important too, because I feel like everybody is intuitive.
So the cards themselves are visual, and for the people that aren't, then they may be open to hearing more. Is that what I'm hearing?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Yeah, or speaking back to me, because some
Right.
people also need, to vent or um, speak about what it is that they're going through, because that's a good way for you to feel heard and seen. And a lot of people really need that. And I'm willing to have that be a part of the experience too. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we talked a little bit before the show about giving our viewers a sample, and I volunteer, for a 2 card pull or talk or whatever you would like to do, so that people can see, can experience
Yeah.
vicariously.
So I'll get my cards out and I'll do a little shuffle. And what I invite you to do is just, um, send out your energy into the cards and just kind of allow yourself to put yourself into it. Because I usually have the people that I'm reading touch the deck and shuffle it or put their energy into it. So just sending it Reiki style.
Okay, I know how to do that, I believe.
Okay. So you're doing it now?
I'm imagining that I'm shuffling them.
Okay, great. Let me know when you want to stop.
Now.
Okay. Okay. So, like I said, like sometimes when I do like a couple card pulls, it's like very validating. And I just feel like this is very much that. So I got the Knight of Wands.
So can you hold it a little closer to the, there we
Oh,
go.
there we
So
go.
it's a horse with a knight on it holding, what's he holding?
The Wand.
Okay. The Knight of Wands. WAND?
S.
S, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, right.
And then you got the two. Am I holding it good? Sorry,
Two of
it's like
Cups.
a little bit weird. The Two of Cups. And that is a person hugging a spirit them. You see that kind of with the outline in this deck?
I can see something bluish green,
Yeah.
and so that
You can see
represents
they're like the body right here.
Uh-huh.
And then I picked this one, the Six of Swords.
So wand, cup, and sword.
Wand, cups, and swords. So the Knight of Wands is about all the knights in the Soul Tarot are really rooted in the pace. So this is a pace.
Rooted in what?
Pace.
Like the
Like
pace.
a movement pace. Right? So
Yeah.
some of them are like how you're moving, and some of them are like the pace of how you move.
Right.
Okay. So the Knight of Wands is all about like being yourself, having that passion, moving to your own drum, having your light, letting it shine, being that shining light, bringing forward what it is that you're meant to bring forward and really showing it. Like some examples of this that have been brought up through my teachers, like David Bowie or Beyonce. Like they're, bringing it forward. They're shining their light. They're being them in their own unique way, right? And I see very much that you are doing that with this show. So, you're coming here and you're doing this show and you're shining your light and you're showing people other people's light. And I think that that's really important. And then the Two of Cups is all about, so like wands are like your inner flame, right? Like you could be a tea light, you could be a bonfire, you could be some fire that cooks the soup, like each of them are valid, right? But they're all different. So this is like really about shining and moving in the way that is exactly your light, right? Yeah. And then the Two of Cups is this emotional connection of like you being your first lover, you taking care of yourself, you honoring what it is that your soul needs, what it is that you need as a human, and really finding that balance of being a human person and also being a soul that is a celestial divine being, right? So this is about connecting to that and honoring that. And I feel like you're directly doing that in the street. That's why I was like, this is so very validating. And I feel like this is exactly what you're meant to be doing. And I feel like this really does serve you and your soul to do this kind of work, because you're taking care of yourself by also being who you are and really shining that light on other people. I think is something that like very much pleases you and is very makes you happy. And then the Six of Swords, so it's interesting that you got like two even numbers, right? And when sixes, for me, what I've learned about sixes for myself is that they're about people being their friends, community, but in like a sisterly and brotherly and like very soul level, like a soul family, your alignment, right? You're having these alignment spaces. And swords are about brain chemistry. So you're mentally taking this journey with people and knowing that you are taking them with you on this journey, right? And that they are also there with you taking this journey. So I see that in your production crew. Like I see that in the, the ways that you use social media to further your efforts to make the community see who is out there doing the work that they're doing. This is a multi-people work, like we see you, but there's more than just you that makes this happen. There's a lot of things that come, and your soul family as well. So I see this as like very much just like, I'll call it like the duh reading, like, oh yeah, like this is very much all about what you're doing here, what you're about right now. And it's completely laid out that this is very much like, do you feel like that it feeds who you are, feeds your soul, and like is really what you're about?
I like the different the perspective, the three different views are concepts about as they relate to me, and I'm going, I get that. Yeah. And what's really interesting is, and you may have heard people say this to you before, but it's like, how could you know that?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really interesting because the cards are just a vessel through which spirit wants to speak to you. It's for you, like I can read these and I could study as much as I want, but if I'm not doing the field study and if I'm not doing the work of noticing how they show up in my life, then their interpretations are just somebody else's that I've kind of like worked with. But I found that, like how I said, the roots and I'm the tree. It's like, it's nice to have that knowledge because it's important to know history. It's important to know the knowledge. It's important to know what it is that feels right for you, or you can root into it. But then you kind of just put that magic on yourself like you're doing with the show. That's what Knight of Wands is all about. Like Queen of Wands is very much like my card. I love it. It's like the Witch of the Tarot. And she's all about that inner, like the creating and being a part of that inner cave and doing the inner work that is actually making it so that you can be your true authentic self. So I very much am very important to do that for myself. Even though I look like Queen of Pentacles, I am also very much like Queen invested, obviously.
I'm sitting here ruminating on the information that you've shared, and it's like, because I know one person who does tarot readings, law of attraction, and she's just very actual, factual. This is happening. This is not happening. This could happen. Watch out for this. You need to. And your flavor is so completely. I like what you said. Something about wild. There are different flavors of people, and love your flavor. And obviously, the people at the metaphysical fair did too, because I'm serious. I never saw you with, except when you stepped away, and you didn't do that much that I saw.
It's true. It's true. It was very, very busy, very busy. And I even had people sitting in front of me and I was like, are you okay with me like taking a few bites of this food right now? Or like, how about you sit down and like, I'm going to go to the loo and I'll be back, because
I did notice people sitting there by themselves at one point. And I'm going, maybe they just like those cushions.
Oh yeah, I like to make my space. That's probably one thing that invites people in, is because I really like to create an atmosphere with my space. Like I really feel like getting down and sitting together and being at the wood table and really connecting and grounding in. And usually it kind of feels like there's a force field around us where we're in this sacred, forest spot, instead of it being official with like a table and a chair over here and a chair over here, which is totally lovely and very valid for anybody who wants to read like that. but I just came in with my own, like Queen of Wands, came in with my own moved Knight of Wands space energy. And I just was like, this is the way that I'm going to set it up. This is what I have. And then I looked around and nobody had their space like mine at all. And I was like,
well, and just from my perspective, what I noticed about your space versus everybody else's, literally everybody else's, yours was warm and inviting. The others were, they just didn't have that. And, you know, there were almost, I think there were 64 different vendors there. None of the other, nobody else had that warmth. Yeah. So
playful. I like to have it be playful. I like to show up as a playful person because the work and what I'm talking about can feel very serious.
Exactly. And
got to balance it out.
Exactly. I was going to say that. Yeah. If you can keep it light when it gets heavy, that helps people integrate it, accept it, and know that it's, you know, that they don't have their feet stuck in tar.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important for everyone to feel they're loved and validated and whatever they're going through. I tell them it's showing up in these cards because it's real. They wouldn't have made a card for it if not everybody felt that way or was going through this experience or could go through this experience.
That's the archetypal pattern then, term. And who was it? Bill. Can't remember his last name, but he's famous. Darn it, I hate it when that doesn't pop up. It's like, well,
happens to me all the time.
Can we delete that one? This is live. There's no deletions. So
you're human, wildness.
Exactly. Yeah. Coralea, I just really appreciate you being here tonight and sharing you and what you do and how you do it. You know, I hope that we're going to give you a YouTube link to this video, and I hope that you will put it on your website, embedded in your emails, however, so that people get this flavor of you. This is much more than just saying, well, I do this and this and this, and I sometimes do it that way, and sometimes it's blah. So I'm just, this has been a delightful evening, and our engineer, producer, Wonder Woman in the background, she just put up your website, heycoralee.com. Love that.
Thank you. It's like, hey, Coralie.
Yeah.
What's up? Let's chat. Have a reading.
That fits you. It's like, we're not going to do this as serious as a lot of people do. Yeah.
Yeah, like it just really came to me not that long ago, and I just felt like I need to make it really simple and really easy and really accessible for anybody, and you can remember that. So I kind of just did a wave of like, okay, let's change and transition into this new energy of it.
Well, don't change. This, you know, from my perspective, you know, wandering around, because I would take a break from our booth every once in a while and go around the whole place. And yours was the one that was warm. That's so powerful.
That means so much to me. And that's exactly what I wanted it to be. So if that's your perspective, then I did the work and I put the effort in, and that's really, really what I care about. Like a lot of people came up to me and said, you know, there's a lot of readers here, but I just really felt called to talk to you. And I was so grateful, and I'm always grateful because all I want to do is allow people to see that they're intuitive. You are intuitive, and I let people, or not let them, but like allow them to see that what their input is through our reading is just as important as what I'm saying, because when they start speaking about things, it also comes in as a message for me to work and say more. And
Very,
there's different things that kind of like speak to me, and then I'll say those, and then they resonate even deeper. And yeah.
that's very empowering for people. Um, I relate to it.
Great. Yeah.
So we have just hit the magic 8 o'clock hour. So these are short because people literally don't watch more.
That's
They'll,
fine.
they'll go leave. So
I love it.
yeah,
Short and sweet.
I want
Get to
to
the
make them
point.
go, wait a minute, I want to look in the chat and I want to see her website and check out Instagram and I want to know more. So Coralie, thank you so much for being here tonight. Our engineer is going to take you off stage right now, but don't go away and we'll chat a little bit afterwards.
Okay. Thank you, Terry. And thank you everyone for watching. I love you.
Thanks so much. This was absolutely delightful. So this is an example of who's your neighbor. You might never have gone to a metaphysical fair and seen Coralie. Well, now you've got a sample flavor, and you probably felt her openness and her warmth. I've done the show for a while, and there's a difference with everyone. There's different kinds of passion. So I invite you to tune in next week, and we're going to have 2 Tao Healing Hands practitioners. Got to make sure I've got the term right. And there's a gentleman who's very ill in Florida, and he will be brought on. We'll bring him on toward the end of the show, and they're going to be doing a demonstration of remote healing. That's next week. So, and our engineer is, I believe, hasn't done it yet, but she's going to post a link to, I forget the term for it now, 5 levels of healing, something like that. There it is, 5 levels of creation. So tune in next week. Visit Coralie's website, Instagram site. And until next week, I'm Terry McGill. And Portland, Oregon is our center. That's where I live. Who's your neighbor?